for that perspective, given that it is a narrow and constrained area. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the Honourable Member Dr. Rajan Prasad.
Nisambula, Mr. Speaker, for the third time today. It's a record, thank you. Yes, it's a record. Certainly a record on Nisambulas.
It is.
I do first want to say this. I acknowledge and respect the sincerity of the member who's brought this bill to the House, and I do that sincerely. And what's that, Mr. Wilkinson? Yeah, but maybe the member should listen, because I did say with sincerity, and I mean that with sincerity, because the member represents the interests of the section of the public that she represents. But, Mr. Speaker, I take a very particular view to these provisions, and I don't know why the National Party keeps on bringing these bills to the House and putting us through this angst. The chattering classes from the North Shore will soon learn to listen. Learn to listen. Your first-time member, please listen. You might learn something. It's dangerous, but the member might, because there is another view. I'd like the member to listen. I'm not like this. I'm like this. All right, that's good. Now, the point is, my colleague, Darian Fenton, has raised very appropriately the interests of workers. I don't want to do that because I accept what the member is saying. But I do want that party to think about what they advocate for in this House ever since they came into here in 2008. And this was how they were pro-family. How they were pro-family. Now, I say to Jackie Dean, you know, the one indicator of all of the researchers that actually makes sense of all the research about family well-being is the concept of time. I take it that Jackie Dean has not studied that, because what our families are craving for is just time to be together, time to spend, to make decisions, to have meals together, etc. And what we have done over probably decades now is constantly and progressively eaten into family time in this society. So much so that we now have just a small window where families can program with confidence that they will have the time to be together. I say this quite sincerely, Jackie, because this is a matter that we did spend a lot of time in the Families Commission and elsewhere studying what contributes to family well-being. Todd McClay knows nothing about this, because Todd McClay was the last member who raised this type of bill in the House. He fell. Jackie Dean has raised this before, and it fell. But somehow there is some madness in members like that who keep on bringing this to the House, so we go through this period of angst. Families say, we just want time. And at the moment, what's left? What, is it about 3.5 days? There are 361.5 or something like that days available to do everything that Jackie Dean and Todd McClay and members of the National Party who support this bill want to do. And there's plenty of time. There are only 365 days in a normal non-leap year. Now, why is it so difficult for members of the government to simply accept that it's okay to say to our families that you will have these 3 days that will be sacrosanct, that nobody will be able to interfere in it, that it will be reserved so that you as a family can do what you want to do. There are those who will engage in religious practices. There are those who will engage in absolutely. Somehow it is so difficult for members opposite to just get to that point. Now that's, for me, argument enough to say, leave our families alone. Leave our families with the one thing they yearn for, and this is time to have quality time that contributes to family well-being. Our families know that this is a fact, because all the research shows us that. But here we say, it's okay. Now, it is not about the commercial sector. The commercial sector has every other day of the year, except for 3, where they can ply their commercial trade. And there are no restrictions on that. Why is that not enough? Why is that not enough for members opposite? Why is it so difficult for members opposite to simply accept that this is sacrosanct time for the family? And I argue, almost singularly, on behalf of the families of New Zealand who have told me and many others in many, many different ways that this is for them. Why do we confound it? Why do we find it so difficult to accept it? And why is it with monotonous regularity members of the National Party bring this issue to the House? You know, Todd McClare brought it, Jackie Dean, this is Jackie Dean's second attempt at this. And it's been through all of that. So why is it never enough? Why don't we just put this to rest and say, as a country, confidently, that our families deserve the time and we will enable them to have it, because they have every other day of the year to have do all of the shopping, to spend as much money as they want to. And the argument about tourists is not that convincing, because many tourists also accept that there are cultures in the society in which they visit that they have to respect. And just as we respect and accept the cultures of the society we visit. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For those reasons, let's not support this.
I call David Clendon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I would begin by supporting the words of our colleague who just resumed his seat.